All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're hopping into game number 2 between these two players as we spawn up here in the top right-hand corner of Dust Towers on top of the player representing Team Root Gaming, and currently up 1-0. Give it up for Root Gaming's Kelazhur. This star directly represents how cheerful of a guy Kelazhur is, but his opponent spawning down here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, we have the blue Zerg player, not Protoss, blue Zerg player representing Team Red Wolves. Give it up for Erik. All right. Well, we got game number 2. Game number 1, I will say, like, I don't feel like Erik got so significantly outclassed that he couldn't do anything whatsoever. But I don't want to say good night to Olivia. Thank you so much. And it looks like we are going to be going to sub mode, guys. I think that is sort of the choice. If another mod comes back, then maybe like people. Just because I think Olivia was, or Holy Moly was, the only mod left over in the chat right now. All the other mods are asleep, and we don't want people to post pictures of, I don't know, pictures of cats? I guess I'd be okay with pictures of cats. Well, we don't want people to post pictures of terrible things. So that's kind of, I'm leaving that up to Holy Moly's discretion to leave it in sub mode for until another mod comes back. And if another mod comes back, then we can change it back. But anyways, guys, we're hopping into it. We got a nice early Zergling speed coming out. Nothing super duper crazy. Erik trying to deal with the Reaper harassment. And Kelazhur's definitely one who loves to get a lot of damage on those Reapers. He is really, really good at it. And we'll see how much damage he gets done over here. This time, the Reaper is going to have a little bit shorter of a time span in terms of his life, just because, well, there is Zergling speed on the way. It is eventually going to have to back out, but he's already doing a nice little bit of damage, forcing out some of those Zerglings, getting some good damage on the Zerglings, and Erik is also doing an equally good job of making sure he doesn't actually lose too much. And oh, even pulling one of these queens out, I guess making the next queen over there, so he's going to get that second queen ready to make sure that this Reaper doesn't get a scout off. This is actually a really nice positioning, because if the Reaper tries to hop in from either one of these two sides to try and get a scout into the main base, it's just not going to happen. Like, it's not. Especially with these Zerglings coming in. Okay, well, unless the queens leave. Okay, queens are returned. We're safe here. We're good. But a fast 3cc build coming out from Kelazhur. He's really looking to get up that economy going a little bit faster than he did in the previous one. I also totally forgot to run ads, but I guess that doesn't really matter. Kelazhur getting up that faster 3cc, but also getting up a fairly fast starport. So gonna have medevacs and everything coming out relatively shortly. Whereas the third expansion for Erik isn't super early. This wasn't a very fast third, so what that also means is that Erik doesn't exactly have the greatest creep spread. And in fact, the Hellions are already going to be making their way across the map before that third expansion finishes up. And that means that Kelazhur can do a really, really nice job of just stopping the creep spread from escaping outside of this choke point over here. As long as he does a really, really good job with his control and he stays active with those the Hellions as well as the Reaper. Erik is continuing to drone up, but getting up that lair tech as well. After he throws down that third hatchery, starting to get up his extra gas guys. There's probably going to be going straight into a Spire again. I wouldn't be too surprised to see something like that. But this game, we're seeing a much faster Liberator coming out from Kelazhur, which is a bit of a difference from the last game. He is definitely going to be looking for an opportunity to try and do some more damage with that harassment early game. Well, Kelazhur, speaking of taking risks right now, he's running all of his Hellions straight into the main base. Funnily enough, exactly where his drop is. So he's coming in from two different sides of the main base for Erik. The drop looks like it's going to get cleaned up, but the Hellions also get cleaned up on the other side at the natural expansion. 3 workers killed for how many units lost? I don't think that was really worth it. Kelazhur probably not super happy about that, but he does manage to make it out with at least some of the Marines as well as the medevac. Not exactly, again, the most ideal situation for Kelazhur, but you do what you can, and he's not going to be in a down and out position by any means. He's still got an opportunity to try and continue that aggression. That's sort of just the thing about how Kelazhur oftentimes ends up treating drop play, is he sort of just treats it like I'm trying to remember the metaphor, but it's the idea where you just try and throw as much at the wall until something sticks. And then, hey, when that one thing sticks, it kills like 20 workers, or maybe kills a base, or kills a vital piece of technology or something. And he may end up losing some of these medevacs earlier on, or may end up losing other units. But hey, as long as he gets some of those big damage, some of that big damage done in the early bits of aggression, it's okay. Ooh, Liberator gets very, very low on health thanks to that Spore Cone and the Queen. Gonna have to back out of there. But can go back home, repair itself up. But oh, is that Liberator? Okay, yeah, Liberator is looking for an opportunity to repair itself back up after it takes out some of those Overlords. Might as well use it like that Polt Viking, but instead it's the Polt Liberator, liberating the aerospace for the Terran Confederacy from Overlords everywhere. Spire coming up though behind all this, and Erik is looking for yet another Mutalisk play. Really, really enjoying those Mutalisks. He didn't really make a whole lot happen, I would say, with the Mutalisk in the last game. He made an okay amount happen, but really, I think not nearly as much as he wanted to. And that's kind of what allowed Kelazhur to sort of run crazy, run rampant. And I would actually say that the same thing happened with Erik versus Major, where those Mutalists, they did an okay job in one or two of the games, but they weren't amazing amounts of damage. They weren't the game-winning amounts of damage, or heck, even just, I guess, absurd amounts of damage that he really wants to make happen. Oh, Liberator does get taken out by those Mutalists. Mutalists are revealed, at least. And Kelazhur unloads his army, not going to be falling prey to those Mutalists too quickly. And the Mutalisk count is getting pretty high. He's already up at 10 Mutalisks and starting to go up to 12 with the last two popping out. Fourth expansion going to get canceled very, very quickly. This is not enough of an army to actually deal with this Marine Marauder force. In fact, I don't even know if the Mutalisks are all that much. He needs to wait a couple of more units to have to pop out, and he's got to maybe rely on a good Ravager shot or something, as decent trades over here, some good transfuses, and Kelazhur is finally going to get pushed back. But fourth expansion snipe off for Kelazhur, not losing too much, probably wants to have picked up some of these units, but I think he was waiting for the medevacs to finish off their boosts. The boosts are going to come off of cooldown very soon. He ends up having to unload one of those medevacs, just boost out of the way with a handful of those units, but he really just doesn't have that many units back at home. Oh god, this could be a really, really dangerous situation for Kelazhur. Erik has an army, and Kelazhur just straight up does not. He has a medevacs, which, you know, theoretically medevacs should be able to deal with a lot of units. Okay, there comes in that big reinforcing wave of Marines, but it's starting to look a bit awkward over there. Scan goes down, and Kelazhur maybe just keeping an eye out, saying, okay, do you have an infestation pit or something? And he does scan that infestation pit. It's also just keep an eye out on that hive tech timing. That's something every Terran player always has to do. And I'm not sure if the Mutalists saw the medevacs loaded up. If they did, yeah, they definitely see the siege tanks loaded up into the medevacs. So he's going to say, oh, well, you want to move out right now? No, I think I'm not going to let you. I'm just going to keep, even if he doesn't do damage, these Mutalists are keeping these bioforces at home. He's preventing Kelazhur for trying to punish Erik for going up for the infestation pit, to getting up pathogen glands, to potentially getting up a fast hive tech. And that is exactly what Kelazhur wants to do. He wants to just be able to move across the map and say, no, Erik, you don't get that opportunity. Kelazhur, though, going to be finishing up +2 weapons relatively shortly. I don't know if it's going to be in time for this push out, actually. A little bit awkward if he ends up forcing out engagement right before it finishes up. But still, he is on a timer. He should be able to get in over here, maybe before pathogen glands finishes up, and that's going to be a really, really important victory. Is moving in before infestors are out, or before any pathogen glands, for the energy is there. That is exactly what Kelazhur needs to do, because once pathogen glands finishes up, suddenly this becomes a much, much harder engagement to make. I mean, this clumped up Bioforce just cannot deal with pathogen glands. But oh, a nice surround coming in from Erik, coming in from both sides. Some good corrosive bios coming in as well, and it looks like he's going to be able to clean up a majority of Kelazhur's force. Kelazhur winning out on the bottom side, but the siege tanks stay alive, and Kelazhur isn't going to lose everything he has, but he is going to be pushed back for at least a little bit until the reinforcing wave comes in. But where are the infestors? Pathogen glands is finished up, but there's no infestors on the way in the production tab. There's no infestors out right now. I feel like Erik is missing out on an opportunity to make this push a much, much easier thing to hold on against. Siege tanks sieged up a bit out of position of the hatchery, so Kelazhur is going to be dancing into the range of these these Ravagers of these Roaches, but outside of the range of the Sea Shanks. Good Ravager shots, try and come down, zone out Kelazhur for at least a little bit, but I would say Erik is bleeding out a little bit more. Finally, some of those Infestors are going to be popping out. One of the Infestors popping out right over here at this third expansion could throw down a Fungal Growth very easily and start to lock down some of this Terran Force. Fungal Growth immediately comes down, and some of those Medivacs that get locked down, unfortunately, they do not get picked off, but the fourth expansion does. Now, Erik does still have this expansion going up, so it's not a total loss. He's still not totally out of the game just yet, but Kelazhur establishing his own fourth expansion, a constant rally across the map, and here we end up seeing Erik trying to make the hold happen once again. I don't know if he's going to be able to make it work, though. Fungal Growth plus Corrosive Bile, very good, but is it good enough? I don't know. It's pretty back and forth right now. Corrosive Bile is going to be coming off of cooldown on some of the, or at least one or two of these Ravagers very soon. But there's no more energy left over on these Infestors, and the Marine Marauder force is pushing on in further and further. The Siege Shanks are accompanying him. I think that Kelazhur may have done it. He's pushing it into the third expansion. He's taken victory, and he's saying, I'm going on to face off versus Major in the Grand Finals. I want that spot. GG gets called. Kelazhur coming out victorious. Kelagod. Well